about to embark on quarterly planning? Who's in the middle of quarterly planning? You're at the right place. Quarterly planning is not so different to planning a climb. You need to prepare, coordinate, communicate. It's all about continuous collaboration at the right elevation. Conditions change, you need to adapt. I'm Nat, and I'm here with Rowan. I'll let Rowan introduce himself in a moment. But we're going to share how to take quarterly planning to the next level. In terms of what we're going to cover today, good planning, bad planning. Why is planning so hard? How planning can reduce risk, and how Atlassian can help. So I'm a researcher. Hi, if we've met. After over 100 hours speaking to customers about planning, I've met with release train engineers, program managers, product managers, enterprise agile coaches, and I can tell you that the process is as valuable as the plan itself. How planning happens inside an organization provides a window into the culture, the organizational design, and most importantly, team health. Quarterly planning is an art.
Hi, my name is Rohan. I'm a product manager on the Jira Product Discovery team, and I've been part of many bad planning sessions. I've been part of the planning sessions where I wasn't even there. I was given a plan to execute while I was outside the tent. It felt disempowering, and then we spent weeks afterwards trying to understand the decisions that were made while I was outside the tent, and valuable momentum was lost. I've also been part of terrible planning workshops. We start with a blank slate. In a week, we're trying to get through ideation, prioritization, and road mapping. Because of the time constraints, we're forced to make a whole lot of assumptions that we have to rush through, and we haven't done our homework beforehand, so it's unsurprising that when we come out of it, the execution isn't there and we fail to hit our goals. It's like trying to climb Mount Everest on a whim.
In contrast, I bet you've all been in good planning sessions. The planning where teams come together to discuss details. They have high fidelity conversations. It's safe to ask questions, and risk can be surfaced effectively. This kind of creative thinking is infectious. Connections are made, new joiners are sharing their knowledge, are learning from experienced specialists. It's a really important opportunity to share knowledge and share ideas. With good planning, you walk away feeling energized. You feel a part of the mission. It feels like you belong. Alongside async preparation and communication, good planning requires dedicated real time together. Good planning is collaborative planning. It's planning in the open and planning at the right altitude. The closer you are to the climb, the more details you need to understand in order to reduce risk and have a successful climb. Planning also needs to include everyone who's on the climb, as well as specialists with local knowledge, coaches to make sure everyone's prepared. The live data is critical to help make better decisions and arrive together with the right gear. Why is planning so hard? It's really hard when teams are working from disconnected tools, and they might be working in different time zones. It's also hard when they're using different ways of working. They might call the same thing something different. Some teams are so stretched that they don't even have time to do pre-planning, which means that's really difficult for them to participate in any combined planning session. There can be a lack of visibility. There might be conflicting or hidden priorities. The goals might be unclear. Dependencies are unknown, or they're identified too late. Planning is hard when teams have too much or too little autonomy. There's no cohesion, and then things change. Planning is hard when there's no map, and no one knows who's on the adventure or the sequence of events. But planning is worth it because it reduces risk. A short-term plan is extremely valuable because it traverses what's feasible. Priorities are committed for the short term and are made transparent, which means that there's more alignment, teams know what's on the roadmap and what's being delivered. There's more agility because all the obstacles are kind of identified upstream rather than downstream. But most importantly, we have happier teams because they understand how their work contributes to the business goals, to each other's work. The good planning process builds trust and a shared purpose. Teams are more motivated and more connected. Like when planning a climb, preparation is everything. Rowan will now walk us through how Jira Product Discovery gets teams prepared.
Planning starts with having a long list of opportunities, but this isn't the first time to think about that list. I've been part of quarterly planning sessions where we start from a blank slate and then we're swayed by whoever's got the most compelling sales pitch for which initiative we should work on. We get caught up in the hype, it's like a sugar rush and we're ready to rush up the mountain, but then it all falls apart before we reach base camp. Good prioritization requires diligent data gathering and feasibility analysis. To hit your goals, you need a long list of opportunities that product managers are regularly refining and discussing. The PM team needs to have a shared understanding of these opportunities before you do your quarterly planning process. Spreadsheets, post-it notes, digital whiteboards, they just aren't going to cut it. Jira Product Discovery is a single purpose-built collaborative tool to solve this problem. It includes custom fields to record the revenue opportunity of an idea or to have a list of customers who need a given feature. There's also an insights feature which allows you to record support tickets, customer interview notes, market analysis, and more, and then map them to the opportunities that you have. In this example, I've included a summary of a call that I had with a customer who needs this feature. It's going to be helpful when I come back and review this later. On our product management team, we have a weekly rotation to review the customer feedback that we've received and then map them to opportunities that we have in our Jira Product Discovery project using the Insights feature. Then we have a weekly meeting as a PM team to discuss the emerging themes and trends of the feedback that we've received. Especially for a remote team, this is a really inclusive and collaborative session that helps us build a shared understanding and shared language of the opportunities that we have to work on. For example, we might get customer feedback that customers require a comment feature. Now, when we discuss that in a weekly feedback review, week in, week out, we're regularly discussing the nuance of why customers need this and how it ties into our strategy. By the time we get to our quarterly planning session, we've all been talking about it for weeks, for months. We've got a rough idea of what's involved here, what's going to be required to meaningfully solve the problem for customers, and we know that it's probably going to be fitting into our medium list because it kept on coming up week in, week out in this meeting that we had. When PMs have a validated medium list for planning, it's time to map them to goals. That's where Atlas comes in. With Jira Product Discovery's Atlas integration, you can pull in all the opportunities that you have and map them to all the goals that you have in Atlas. Everything should map to goals or OKRs. Then it's time to work out which initiatives and opportunities that you have that are going to have the biggest impact towards these goals and OKRs. Jira Product Discovery is packed with features to help you do this. Now, prioritization is a combination of art and science. Some teams are able to calculate precise revenue opportunities for the different initiatives they have to work on, while others are maybe not so quantitatively driven. With Jira Product Discovery, you can be as artful or scientific as you need to be. It can be as simple as having a goal impact field and having a rating for it out of 5, or having a precise revenue opportunity that you put into a custom field. You can also create custom formula fields. So if you want to use a framework like RICE, you can use this to calculate effort versus value. Once you've entered your scores and ratings, it's time to pull them into a matrix view to compare them against each other. The goal here is to bring alignment to your team. We like to say that Jira Product Discovery is a canvas for building alignment. The most fruitful discussions happen when people have differing views on some of the scores that you might see here. Let's say you've got a feature and the effort rating for it has been put at 4, but someone else thinks it should be a 2. You start having a conversation about why someone thinks it's a 4, someone thinks it's a 2. It's that discussion that brings out the fact that two people think that it's completely different things that they're talking about. It's this discussion that helps build a shared understanding of what's required for customers, the problem, the opportunity, and the solution. There are more features in Jira Product Discovery to help facilitate this alignment, to harness the collective wisdom of sales and customer support who are also having first-hand interactions with customers. For example, you can use voting and reactions to get inputs from your team. Let's say you've got a short list of 10 opportunities to work on. You can give everyone 3 votes to see if you've got a rough consensus on what everyone thinks the priorities should be. Or you can use the emojis feature to get reactions on the different things that are sitting in your opportunity list in Jira Product Discovery. Now, the goal here is not to do prioritization by committee, by democracy, that whatever gets the most number of votes is what we're going to work on. There needs to be a clear, directly responsible individual who's going to make the final call and make these decisions. But with features like voting and reactions, we're now moving that prioritization process away from something that happens behind closed doors to an inclusive and collaborative process where you can get everyone's input in a way that you think is suitable for you. Once you've prioritized, it's time to pull things together into a roadmap. We like the now, next, later format because it shifts the conversation away from timelines and more towards priorities. You might want to stop here. What a beautiful work of art. Planning to climb Everest is one thing, but doing it is quite another. We need to see if this is feasible.
Let's dive into the now, the next 12 weeks, or 6 iterations. Everest is in view. Teams are still preparing, they're swarming on the details, they're coordinating with other teams. They're mitigating risks like avalanches, dehydration, and altitude sickness. During pre-planning, Confluence is used to socialize key goals for the quarter, the interdependent teams, and the prioritized initiatives. Agendas are also being planned and shared using Confluence. During this pre-planning, teams are reviewing committed versus completed work. They're reflecting on any deltas and identifying any changes to help improve outcomes for the next quarter. They know what work needs to carry over and have sized any required tech debt maintenance for the quarter as well. This is all in view. New ideas and opportunities, as Rohan just discussed, are being broken down into epics. Within Jira Product Discovery, we can link or create new epic directly from the Delivery tab of the idea that we wish to pursue. Once linked, you can also see which idea the epic originated from, which is awesome because all this context from the customers is really easy accessible for your designers and engineers when they're starting to work on these epics. Teams then prepare to build their ideas using plans, which is a cross-team view within Jira Premium and our Enterprise editions. Plans, which is previously known as advanced roadmaps, is an aggregated live view of work across teams. There's no need to copy and paste anything. All the data from the Jira projects and boards automatically appears in the plans. Plans is also the place to see the full hierarchy of work, from big rocks to pebbles, all connected. We visualize this breakdown of work in our plan using a custom issue hierarchy. In this example, we've structured the work required to bring our ideas to life as initiatives, epics, and stories. The initiatives are our big rocks, which we've broken down into epics and stories. As you can see here, everything's connected. Everything has a home. This hierarchy is customizable. You can add as many layers above the epic as needed. Name each level to match your methodology or culture. When you've got multiple teams and projects in planning together, a custom hierarchy helps keep everyone organised and aligned. People can also view the plan at different altitudes depending on the information that is most relevant to them. Plans come with numerous filters and view settings so you can get the exact slice of data that you need to get the job done. You can view just your team's work for a specific release, grouped by projects involved. You can bring additional fields into the list view to have more details for each work item. Similar to the custom views that you can create in Jira Product Discovery, any custom view that you create in a plan, you can save for easy access and sharing with stakeholders. Head of my slide. Share. There are a few pre-configured views in plans as well to help you get started if you haven't used this capability. We've got the sprint capacity view, the top-level planning, and dependency management are the three key ones. For sprint capacity view, you can see work by team alongside sprint capacity. This helps keep teams happy and healthy by ensuring that the workload is reasonable for the time frame and the people that are involved. If you expect a fluctuation in team capacity, such as a cool event in Amsterdam or the holiday seasons are coming up, you can define a sprint-specific velocity to reflect that in the plan. If work exceeds the capacity, a warning will also appear in the overloaded sprint, allowing teams to then discuss, reprioritize, and reschedule work. You know this ahead of time. To see incoming and outgoing dependencies, you can use the dependency management view. A dependency can be added on the timeline by simply dragging and dropping from one end of an epic to the beginning of another. Clicking into a dependency will show you further details. If there's a conflict, a warning will once again appear. By mapping the relationship between issues, known dependencies can be identified and negotiated prior to any group planning sessions. No one wants to be thrown a dependency. A conversation to understand context, discover a new solution together helps build bridges across teams. To visualize how all their work ties together, they can reference the dependency report. You can apply various filters to drill into dependencies by epics, projects, sprints, and more. And within plans, we have scenario modeling as well, which means that when things change over time, that's okay, because the scenario modeling will help you understand best case and worst case scenarios. To route different paths to the mountain peak in the event of bad weather, teams can create alternative versions of their plan with different team allocations and outcomes, such as the best or worst case scenario. These can be saved. With all these details, planning together is grounded in live data, which means decisions can be made faster together. Look, not all teams work in plans, and that's completely fine. Collaborative planning needs to be inclusive. Similar to the feeling that we get when you've got all of the folks in the room at the same time chatting, creative juices flowing, jotting things down on a whiteboard. Miro is a great way to simulate that collaborative environment online. Everyone can participate on a digital whiteboard. There's a sense of togetherness where everyone contributes, comments, and draws connections. On a digital whiteboard, it's really easy to traverse across teams and move from high-level goals, getting into the nitty-gritty details, all in one board. This is collaboration at different altitudes. Hands up if you've used the Jira to Miro integration. Awesome. Teams can quickly bring all their work from Jira into Miro to collaborate. Teams that might be using other tools can also bring their work into Miro as well, be it screenshots or post-it notes, but it's all about having a full picture of the work required and how it's connected to each other. Within Miro, everyone can trace what has happened and quickly understand how things relate to one another. Using Roam, risks can be resolved, owned, accepted, and mitigated. Epics can be all scheduled together. Dependencies can be identified and discussed. Within this full picture view, you can have goals, milestones, capacity, epics, and risks all together. This is collaborative planning in the open. Then the information from Miro can be synced seamlessly back to Jira. Boots are starting to get worn in. Teams are feeling prepared for the climb. Some work items will shift to the next quarter, others will move towards the end of the quarter. We now need to communicate.
More than likely, we're going to realize that what we initially hoped to achieve isn't going to be possible with the capacity that we have or the dependencies required to execute on it. We're going to have to go back to our now next later roadmap and move a few things around. We're going to have to deprioritize some initiatives, and that's okay, because we're going to then have a roadmap that's more realistic and achievable. When it's more realistic, it's more believable. And when it's more believable, it's more empowering for the teams. Now that we've got a roadmap that we're fully behind, it's time to share it with our stakeholders in the rest of the organization, in sales, support, marketing, other product teams as well. Coming soon, we're releasing the capability to share your roadmap with stakeholders in a customized, read-only view. You'll control exactly who the roadmap is shared with and what data they'll be able to see.
For a ground level view of how work is progressing, you can share and export any view of your plan. So as teams start to complete their work, the plan will automatically update in real time. This means that you can confidently share your plan, knowing that it has the latest information. In this example, we've embedded a live view of the dependency report in Confluence, where key actions, risks, and owners are captured. Within the game plan, we can see that one of our goals is at risk. We need to reprioritize to bring it back on track. We decide to pause the training and simulation initiative to allow the altitude achievers to focus on the at-risk goal. The dependency view means it's easy to see the impact of this decision on downstream dependencies and team capacity, which means we can make a confident decision on how to pivot our plan. So, our planning has paid off. We've reached the peak, successfully achieving our goals. Every climb finishes with a post-climb debrief, with the goal of assessing the experience, gathering feedback. This would be a retro for us. We all have our own Everest to climb, so we want to help you and your teams on their next ascent. The reason we've been spending so much time researching the quarterly planning ritual is because we're working on something to make this process less cumbersome, more collaborative, and seamless. Let's take a look. I'll just jump over here and walk us through. This is hot off the press. Okay. Here's a plan spanning 7 teams for the Mount Everest program. The work of the first 2 teams is expanded to show the epics. The epics for altitude achievers has been scheduled based on the chosen end date field. The child stories have been broken down but not planned. Let's explore the program board, where we can focus on planning granular stories into iterations that align to the team's sprints. We've defined this program board to start from the 1st of January. It spans 12 weeks. The columns represent 2-week iterations, while the rows represents teams and their work. We'll now enable the column to view unscheduled work, so we can plan stories allocated to the altitude achievers. We drag issues to schedule them into an iteration. This sets the start and end dates of the issues to align with the iteration dates. Not yet available to show, but will also allow you to sync sprints to iterations per team. As more scope is identified or broken down from the epic, issues can be created immediately. We'll create an issue here in the final iteration of the quarter and assign it to the drone software epic. As teams plan their work, we get complete visibility to support cross-team alignment. We've just hidden the unscheduled column and we're zooming out. The program board is inside a Jira plan, which means it's able to leverage the multi-scenario capabilities. We can explore different what-if scenarios of the plan under different conditions. Here's an example of the worst-case scenario, when the altitude achievers don't have sufficient capacity to work on most of this drone software epic. After negotiations with other teams, we're able to distribute some of this work across the program. Let's return to the initial scenario and navigate to the timeline to demonstrate that planning that we've been doing in the program board is now reflected in the timeline as well, with new insights in terms of team capacity and dependencies from our planning in the program board. So this is an early look at what we're working on for quarterly planning in Jira plans. It's really the beginning of our work in this space, and we have a lot more in scope around planning capacity, dependencies, and tracking progress in the program board. We suggest following the advanced planning space in the Atlassian community, where we'll show more details and where you can get involved in the next iterations of this experience. As we're wrapping up, a few things that we'd like to share that can help you get started on your next planning adventure. You can immediately sign up for Jira Product Discovery or Jira Premium. They're both free to trial. You could also partner with Atlassian Advisory Services, who provide tailored quarterly planning guidance, as well as a whole lot of really comprehensive solution guides. We also have Atlassian University, and it'd be the agile at scale learning path that'd be most relevant for this talk.